In a Washington, D.C. federal courtroom today, former President Donald Trump pleaded not guilty to 4 criminal charges in connection with a plot to overturn the 2020 race for president. It is the 3rd time Trump has been arrested this year. Our Kevin Fry has been outside the D.C. courthouse all day, and he joins us now with the latest details. Good evening, Kevin.
Yeah, good evening, Errol. What is most extraordinary about today isn't so much that Trump was in the courtroom, but as you just laid out, the fact that this is almost becoming routine because he has done this so many times in just the last few months, of course, in Manhattan, as we all know, down in Miami, and now here federally in D.C. His 3rd arraignment, 2nd federal one in just a matter of months. And so there is sort of a routine to how this all plays out. Folks gather, including lots of media outside. There's a cacophony of protests, sometimes not a lot, including today. And then after that, Trump arrives, go in, pleads not guilty, leaves, and heads back home. And that's essentially what we saw play out today. Now, a reminder of what those 4 charges are at the center of all of this. They are, among others, conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction of and an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights, in particular the rights of the voting public. Yes, this has been framed as being about the January 6th attack on the Capitol, but really, as the indictment lays out, it is about the lead up to the attack on the Capitol, looking at accusing Trump, among other things, of setting up a fake elector scheme, pressuring lawmakers and the vice president to try to overturn the election results, and looking at the states individually, trying to obstruct their efforts to approve their own voting systems there. Here's what Trump said when he was leaving D.C., speaking at the airport just a little bit earlier this afternoon.
This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him. We can't let this happen in America.
Now, even before he entered into the courtroom, Trump was posting on a social media channel saying, among other things, that I am being arrested for you. Let's unpack that for just a moment here, Errol, talking about the raw politics of this. This is now part of Trump's campaign message, essentially trying to convey that he is the stand between the government and the people, his supporters. Of course, the question is, does that resonate beyond the Republican primary in a general election? That remains to be seen. This is he is going to have to be wrestling with all of these various trials heading into next year. Errol?
So now, Kevin, the former president was ordered, as a term of his release today, not to talk with possible witnesses in this case. That seems like a pretty tough thing to expect from Donald Trump.
Scheduled for March of next year. Yeah, I mean, he's not exactly known for, one, not posting anything that he's feeling or thinking on his social media channels. And also, as you look through a lot of the people that are seemingly the witnesses being cited here, folks that have appeared before the grand jury in recent months, these are fellow Republicans. These are Republicans that in many cases wanted to see Trump reelected. And so he's going to have to navigate that, and we'll see exactly what the court does if he doesn't follow the orders.
He was in and out of Washington pretty quickly today, Kevin. Were there any notable followers with him or any family members?
Not that I was able to see, and we should stress that from my vantage point here outside the court, really, he arrived, went in through a back closed door, and we never really actually saw him out publicly. I will say outside the courthouse, though, from my experience covering the Manhattan DA's trial, he almost had, or excuse me, his arraignment there, he has almost some groupies that seem to be following him around for all of these indictments, going from one to the other, some of them cheering on the fact that he is being charged, and overall some gadflies that really like to gravitate toward the camera and the media attention. So if you want to call those people that are maybe tagging along with them, you could count them.
Traveling show. Thanks very much, Kevin.